Welcome to Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia that anyone can edit. 6,285,142 articles in English. The arts, biography, geography, history, mathematics, science, society, technology, all portals. That's something. What do they mean by all portals? From today's featured article, and today's featured article looked interesting. They're portals. Contents overviews, outlines, lists, portals, A to Z index, glossaries, categories, indices. What does that mean? Reference, culture, geography, health, history, human activities, mathematics, nature, people, philosophy, religion, society, technology. Wikipedia's contents portals. General reference, culture and the arts, geography and places, health and fitness, history and events, human activities, mathematics and logic, natural and physical sciences, people and self, philosophy and thinking, religion and belief systems, society and social sciences, technology and applied sciences. About portals. Portals category, random portal. Portals complement main topics in Wikipedia and expound upon topics by introducing the reader to key articles, images and categories that further describe the subject and its related topics. Portals also assist in helping editors to find related projects and things they can do to improve Wikipedia and provide a unique way to navigate Wikipedia topics. I read that badly and I might read it again. Portals complement main topics in Wikipedia and expound upon topics by introducing the reader to key articles, images, and categories that further describe the subject and its related topics. Portals also assist in helping editors to find related projects and things they can do to improve Wikipedia and provide a unique way to navigate Wikipedia topics. At present, there are 534 portals. You can also use the special search box below to locate portals and subpages, e.g. World War II, search portal, namespace, reference, general reference, C in all page types, blah blah blah, language, constructed languages. What does that mean? Arts, fiction, speculative fiction, literature, books, children's literature, comics, novels, poetry, writing, performing arts, film, animation, Bollywood, Disney, blah blah blah. What are we going into? Erotica and pornography. Interesting. I don't get it. What's that? And then down here, culture, constructed languages. I want to go back. Welcome to Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia that anyone can edit. 6,285,142 articles in English. The arts, biography, geography, history, mathematics, science, society, technology, all portals. From today's features article. The Battle of Soor was the culminating battle. The Battle of Soor was the culminating battle of a campaign fought between a Carthaginian army led by Hamilcar Barca and a rebel force led by Spendius in 238 BC in what is now northern Tunisia. Carthage was fighting a coalition of mutinous soldiers and rebellious African cities in the mercenary war which had started in 240 BC. It's interesting they have the word mutinous and rebellious in the same sentence, why do they use those particular words, and what particularly does mutinous and rebellious mean, and what's the difference? Carthage was fighting a coalition of mutinous soldiers in rebellious African cities in the Mercenary War, which had started in 240 BC. Unable to confront the Carthaginian war elephants and cavalry on open ground, the rebels stayed on higher and rougher terrain and harassed the Carthaginian army. After several months of campaigning, Hamilcar trapped the rebels, pinned against local mountains known as the Saw due to their saw-like shape. With their supply lines blockaded and with their food exhausted, the rebels ate their horses, their prisoners and their slaves, hoping that their comrades in Tunis would sortie to rescue them. Eventually the Carthaginians, led by the elephants, attacked the starving rebels, and they were all massacred. The captured rebel leaders were crucified, depictions shown in sight of their comrades in Tunis. Oh, that's yucky. 19th century depiction of the crucified rebel leaders. Full article. The Battle of Saw. The Battle of Saw. The Battle of Saw was the culminating battle of a campaign fought between a Carthaginian army led by Hamilcar Barca and a rebel force led by Spendius in 238 BC in what is now northern Tunisia. Carthage was fighting a coalition of mutinous soldiers in rebellious African cities in the Mercenary War, which had started in 240 BC. The rebels had been besieging Carthage while the Carthaginian field army under Hamilcar raided their supply lines. Under this pressure, the rebels pulled back to their base at Tunis and dispatched their own army to prevent Hamilcar's activities and ideally destroy his army. Battle of the Saw, part of the Mercenary War. Date 238 BC. Location, unknown location in northern Tunisia. Result, Carthaginian victory. Belligerents, Carthage rebels. Commanders and leaders, Hamilcar Barca, Spendius, Zazus and Autaritus. Strength, 20,000 to 30,000 and 50,000. Casualties and losses, light, 50,000 killed. Unable to confront the Carthaginian war elephants and cavalry on open ground, the rebels stayed on higher and rougher terrain and harassed the Carthaginian army. After several months of campaigning, the details of which not clear in the sources, Hamilcar trapped the rebels in a pass or against a mountain range. That seems a funny sentence. Sort of, don't you trap them in a pass or against a mountain range, or is it surely trap the rebels in a pass and a mountain range, or a peculiar sentence. After several months of campaigning, the details of which are not clear in the sources, Hamilcar trapped the rebels in a pass or against a mountain range. I think it's badly written, and there's too many bits of information, and I think it could be rethought and rearranged. Pinned against the mountains, their supply lines blockaded, and with their food exhausted, the rebels ate their horses, their prisoners and their slaves, hoping that their comrades in Tunis would sortie to rescue them. Eventually, the surrounded troops forced their leaders to parley with Hamilcar, but he took all of them prisoner. The Carthaginians then attacked the leaderless, starving rebels of the whole force, led by their elephants, and massacred all of them. The rebel leaders were crucified in sight of their comrades in Tunis. A little later, the rebels abandoned Tunis and withdrew south. Hamilcar and fellow general Hanno followed, and in late 238 BC wiped them out at the Battle of Leptis Pav. Background. The First Punic War was fought between Carthage and Rome, the two main powers of the West Mediterranean, in the 3rd century BC, and lasted for 23 years. From 264 to 241 BC, the two powers struggled for supremacy primarily on the Mediterranean island of Sicily and its surrounding waters, and also in North Africa. After immense material and human losses on both sides, the Carthaginians were defeated, and their commander on Sicily agreed to the Treaty of Lutatius. During the last years of the war with Rome, the Carthaginian general Hanno the Great was leading a series of campaigns which greatly increased the area of Africa controlled by Carthage. Hanno was rigorous in squeezing taxes out of the newly conquered territory to pay for both the war with Rome and his own campaigns. Half of the area's agricultural output was taken as a war tax, and the tribute previously due from towns and cities was doubled. These exactions were harshly forced, causing extreme hardship in many areas. Mutiny. Modern recreations of Carthaginian soldiers and a war elephant in the 2012 Avernial reenactment. Following the Carthaginian defeat by the Romans, their army of 20,000 men on Sicily was evacuated to Carthage. Rather than promptly paying the several years' back pay they were owed and hurrying them home, the Carthaginian authorities decided to wait until all of the troops had arrived and then attempted to negotiate a settlement at a lower rate. Freed of their long period of military discipline and with nothing to do, the men grumbled among themselves and refused all attempts by the Carthaginians to pay them less than the full amount due. Eventually they forcibly took over the city of Tunis. Panicking, the Carthaginian Senate agreed to payment in full. This seemed to have abated the discontent when suddenly discipline broke down. Several soldiers insisted that no deal with Carthage was acceptable. A riot broke out. Dissenters were stoned to death. The Senate's negotiators were taken prisoner and their treasury was seized. Spendius, an escaped Roman slave who faced death by torture if he were captured, and Mathos of Berber, dissatisfied with Hanno's attitude toward tax raising from Carthage's African possessions, were declared generals. The news of an experienced anti-Carthaginian army in the heart of its territory spread rapidly and caused many cities and towns to rise in rebellion. Provisions, money and reinforcements poured in. Eventually another 70,000 men joined the anti-Carthaginian movement, according to the ancient historian Polybius, although many would have been tied down and garrisoning their hometowns against Carthaginian retribution. The pay dispute had become a full-scale revolt. The 3 years of war that followed are known as the Mercenary War and threatened Carthage's existence as a state. War. Further information: Battle of Utica, Battle of the Bagradus River, circa 240 BC, and Hamilcar's victory with Narvaez. Carthaginian city, blah blah blah. Main manoeuvres during the Mercenary War, the numeral blah 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 blah. The main rebel force blockaded Carthage from the stronghold of Tunis, while Mathos ordered 2 groups of rebels north to besiege the 2 main cities other than Carthage that had not already rebelled, the major ports of Utica and Hippo, modern Bizerta. Hanno, as the commander of Carthage's African army, took the field with an army of 8,000 to 10,000 men and 100 war elephants. I'm really feeling that this is, according to me and my lights, and I could be wrong, the sentences, time and time again, I'm finding a bad sentence. Hanno, as the commander of Carthage's African army, took to the field, it should be. Where I come from, and just off the top of my head, there's you take to the field, and you took the field, I think. If you took, and it's in the past, you took the field. If you took the field, that means that you have had success, you have won the battle. But it doesn't say that they have, it just means that they're putting 8,000 to 10,000 troops into the field, and that's what it should be, took to the field with an army of 8,000 to 10,000 men and 100 war elephants. And the sentence before that I thought was something wrong with it too. Where was it? The main rebel force blockaded Carthage from their stronghold of Tunis, while Mathos ordered two groups of rebels north to besiege the two main cities, other than Carthage, that had not already rebelled, the major ports of Utica and Hippo, modern Bizerta. Hanno, as the commander of Carthage's African army, took the field with an army of 8,000 to 10,000 men and 100 war elephants. Most of the Africans in his force remained loyal. They were accustomed to acting against their fellow Africans. His non-African contingent also remained loyal. An unknown number of Carthaginian citizens were incorporated into this army. In early 240 BC, Hanno was defeated at the Battle of Utica while attempting to raise the siege of that city. For the rest of the year, Hanno skirmished with the rebel force, repeatedly missing opportunities to bring it to battle or to place it at a disadvantage. The military historian Nigel Bagnall writes of Hanno's incompetence as a field commander. At some point during 240 BC, the Carthaginians raised another army of approximately 10,000. It included deserters from the rebels, 2,000 cavalry and 70 elephants, and was placed under the command of Hamilcar Barca, who had previously led the Carthaginian forces on Sicily. Hamilcar defeated a large rebel force at the Battle of the Bagradus River, and then brought several towns and cities which had gone over to the rebels back to Carthaginian allegiance with a mixture of diplomacy and force. He was shadowed by a large rebel force under Spendius, which kept to rough ground for fear of the Carthaginians' cavalry and elephants, and harried his foragers and scouts. Meanwhile, Hanno manoeuvred against Mathos to the north near Hippo. Southwest of Utica, Hamilcar moved his force into the mountains in an attempt to bring the rebels to battle, but was surrounded. He was only saved from destruction when an African leader, Novatus, who had served with and admired Hamilcar in Sicily, deserted the rebels with his 2,000 cavalry, and they joined Hamilcar. This proved disastrous for the rebels. In the resulting battle, they lost 10,000 killed and 4,000 captured. Truceless war. I think I'm getting bored of this. I've got the heater on, I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling, what do you call it, whatever, Battle of Soar. I'm going back. The Battle of Soar was done by blind people. Do you get it? Do you get it? The Battle of Soar was the culminating battle of a campaign fought between a Carthaginian, ancient Carthage. Carthage was an ancient Phoenician city-state and civilization located in present-day Tunisia, founded around 814 BC as a colony of Tyre. It was one of the richest and most powerful cities in antiquity, and the centre of a major commercial and maritime empire that dominated the western Mediterranean until the mid-3rd century BC. Carthage. Spooky. Blah, 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 blah. Symbol of the goddess Tanit, the cultic or state insignia. Spooky. Spooky bounce. Capital Carthage, common languages. What's it called? The ancient Carthage. It's named after the Carthaginian shekel. Population 3.7 million to 4.3 million. After gaining independence in the 7th century BC, Carthage gradually expanded its economic and political hegemony across northwest Africa, Iberia, and the major islands of the western Mediterranean. By 300 BC, it's 20.